my name is Amanda Isabel. I am the Nerdy Krafter. This is my last of my 3-part series using this beautiful stamp set by Pajama Krafter Stamps, Lovely Bouquet. This one is one of my favorites. I like to do a sepia card. I think it works great for a lot. This image may or may not work for it, but a lot of masculine cards look great in a sepia tone. So a little example of what a sepia would look like is this nice, beautiful brown with a little gray mixed in here. I love that sepia look to it, the monochromatic. It adds just a little pop of color. I have done 2 other videos with for you on just spotlight imaging. So this one here, just doing some splatter with the spotlight, and this one using a smooshing technique and then highlighting a few of the elements and just making them pop out on your card. So that's what we've done so far. Let's bring in our final image. This one will take a little bit longer, so I saved it for last. And we're going to come in and do a sepia or monotone color. So this one's actually pretty simple. We're going to only use a couple different inks here. So our base is going to be the 969 brown. You've been seeing me use this a lot as my distress along the outside of my cards. It is one of my favorites. And then the other combination that we're going to do is building our own gray. You can use a standard black or gray, but I don't always have those in my collection. So the way that I build a gray is actually a combination of both the 969 and the 565. So it is 2 good strips of the 565 and a half a strip of the 969. Those blended together will build a beautiful gray, and that will give us that second layer of color and dimension and depth for our card. So those are the colors we're going to be using. So let me just mark these so you can remember what we've used. This one's 565, 565, and then a short or half of 969. I'm bringing in my water cup. If this is the first time you've used your brush for the day, we're going to go ahead and put it past the metal just this very first time. Go in, swirl our brush around, see if there's any air pockets. Be very gentle. We're not trying to be mean to our brushes, but nice and swirling them around. Tap that off, and I want to make sure that I've fully cleaned and fully taken all that water out. Make sure there's none left up here that can drip onto my project. So clean, clean, clean. And then now, when I go in to dip my brush, I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way. Usually I say about half, but 2/3 of the way in. You'll see after a while my brush will start being a lot lighter up here towards the top and darker towards the bottom. You don't want to just go in on the tip. That's not enough water. So about 2/3 is what we're looking for. So dip it in about 2/3, pull it out, and pinch that off. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go with, this is kind of the light source document that we built in the very first video. And I'm going to start building in where my colors are. I'm going to just do one area at a time. Let's start this way. I'm going to start up here with my leaf this time instead of the flower. So I'm going to pick up some of my brown. I'm just tapping in here, getting a little bit. I'm not swirling around and picking up a whole lot. Little bit goes a long way. I'm going to go along my leaf and just towards the bottom there. I do have a little bit of extra water on here, I can see, because it's pooling up. So I can always pinch that off, or just be very gentle when I'm bringing this in. Let me bring in a little bit further. So it's one of the ways that I can tell if I have picked up too much water is if, you can see my measurements here, if I get puddles of water. So if I come in here and I'm tapping in and you can see that there's a sheen or puddles of water, that means I've got a little bit too much water on my brush, so make sure to pinch that off. You may get a little bit of color on your hands. It's okay. It will come off. And I'm just tapping this color in. I mentioned in some of my previous videos the difference between a straight line. So if I come in and do a straight line versus the difference if I come in and tap in or flick in a line and they're jagged and uneven. When I go to blend them, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to blend this. So like I come in with my scrubbing technique to blend the color out. I have to go over it 2, 3, 4 times to get rid of that solid line. And you can still see that solid line there. Versus if I come in and I scrub in with my jagged edges, those jagged edges, one, blend a lot quicker, and two, what they do leave, you can see dark, medium, and light versus a solid line. So that's why I generally do more of a flicking or tapping technique versus a straight line. There is a method to my madness. Trust the process. It's one of my favorites. And with this one, I'm just going to tap in a little bit down here towards the bottom of these little petals. And I'm not going back into this leaf just yet because my brush was a little bit wetter. I want to give it just a second to dry. It is still, because we're using such a little bit amount of water, it will dry super fast. I do just want to give it just a second. So I'm just coming in with these ones. I'm just tapping a little bit of color right along the stems. I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm working on. I'm grabbing water, pinching it off, and I'm doing a light pinch to move these colors. So now I'm just kind of smooshing that color, blending it out a little, leaving some white. Just a little squish, scrubbing back and forth. Scrub, scrub, scrub. And we have it there. So I took out some of my darkness, so I'll come in with the second pass and add a little bit more of that darkness back in. With these little ones, I'm just going to tap in a little bit of color. I don't need to do a whole lot with these little round ones. You can imagine your light source is coming from here, so that's why my light's up towards the top. A little more light here. With my round, I'm going to focus where my light's all coming in from one side. If you want, because we're going to be trimming off a little bit of this paper, so right here I can kind of say this is my light coming from there, so it reminds me my light's going to be coming from this direction. A little bit more brown. Grab some water, pinch it off, and then I'm just tapping in. These little leaves, these little elements, a little bit of color will go a long, long way. So it's just a little bit of tapping right along the vine or the vein here. Maybe a little bit towards the bottom when I can. These little itsy bitsy flowers, I'm just literally coming in for these itsy bitsy flowers and just tapping a little bit of color in. So I'm not trying to find my light source. I'm not trying to dig in there. Sometimes it's just the illusion with watercoloring. It does not have to be precise. It does not have to be exact. It's simply the illusion. Right now I'm kind of going upside down because I'm pushing this way. If it's easier to rotate your paper to keep with the tapping, rotate your paper. Don't make your hand do weird, unusual positions. The paper does move. Tapping in a little bit there. Let me just finish these guys, and then I'll bring in some more water. Just a little bit down towards the bottom. A little bit around my vein. Tap towards the bottom and towards my vein. Pinch off my brush, and we're just going to scrub that color up. Remember, quick, fast, simple. Watercolor is supposed to be loose, it's supposed to be whimsical, there's supposed to be white spaces. Tapping in on those flowers that we just added a little bit to. Just tapping into these little bulbs. For these little itty bitty ones, I'm just going to tap, and it's going to go outside the lines. It is a-okay to go outside the lines. Pinch that off. Now these ones, just a little bit of water here and there, tapping that in. So we've done about a third of our project so far. I still have water on my brush, so I don't need to grab some more as I come in and tap in some more color for my leaves. Kind of working towards the top down, so I'm not putting my hand in the project that I'm working with. But even if I did, this is already dry, so putting my hand in it is not hurting anything. So because of that, I'm going to start working on this one. So my big flower here, I'm just tapping it in or smooshing in some color for it. So this is a tap. You can see I'm getting jagged, uneven edges. And when I'm doing a tapping motion, So this is interesting. So when I do a tapping, so I'm not coming in stabbing with the tip of my brush. I'm doing a slight flex to it. So it's a flex, 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 pat, pat, patty cake, is kind of what I'm saying in my head. But I'm not stabbing. I'm not breaking up that tip, and I'm not stabbing my brush. So keep that in mind as we're working through this. Not to stab, but to pat. The brush is going to get a little bit of flexion to it. Adding some more water. Picking up. I'm rotating my paper, and it's okay because it's already dry, so I'm not going to get my fingers in something and be like, oh goodness, it's dried, and it's not dry, and I'm going to smoosh my color everywhere. Nope, it's already dried. Again, this is a very dry method of watercoloring. I've been watercoloring for the past few hours, and my cup of water is still clean. Tapping in that color. Pat, 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 pat. It's having a little bit of difficulty moving, so I'm going to grab some more water, pick up a little bit more. When I first started watercoloring, I would keep a piece of scrap watercolor right next to me. And we recommend the watercolor paper, not a paper towel, because paper towel will absorb differently than the watercolor paper will. And I keep it right next to me, so right after I dip my brush, pinch it off, and pick up, I can test and see if I'm getting a big pool of water. So that one, it's shiny, but it's not a pool. So the difference is, if I don't pinch it off, one, you can see when I'm tapping in, it's leaving a big puddle of water. And two, you can see there's a little bit of difference between those two. This one's a little shiny, but flat. That one's got a puddle or poodle of water next to it. So I would tap it off before I would take it to my project. Now I'm getting to the point where I can kind of see it on my palette if I pick up too much, so I can kind of like dry it off a little bit and move outside to take a little bit off before I take it to my paper. But having that spare piece of paper close by to test it beforehand is super helpful. Or just simply come in and just take a little itsy bitsy pinch to take off a little bit of that extra water. So this is the third time that we've watercolored this image at this point. So again, the closer I get, just tap, tap, tap. Clean my brush, pinch it off, and I'm going to scrub that color out, help it blend closer to the edge. It's okay to leave white, okay to leave texture. We'll come back in and darken it in a little bit with our gray in a little bit. So right now we're just scrubbing that out. And your brush does pick up color and will start transferring it. So every once in a while you might want to add a little bit of clean water, pinch it off again, so you're not transferring the color but more transferring the water. Scrubbing that in, scrubbing it in. When we get to the middle, you can choose to add a little bit of darkness into the middle, but a lot of it's just the illusion of it. So now that flower is done. So I'm going to come over and do this little one right here. It's hiding in the corner. So again, not a really big image, so I'm just going to tap in a few pieces right along where those black lines are. That's all that one needs. We'll add some water. Same thing to this. These are such small images in some of these. It's just the illusion. My palette in so you can see. Picking up some color. This one's a little bit bigger, so this will give me a little bit more room to be a little more precise. So I'm tapping in my colors. Tap, tap, tap. If you need to refill your palette, just refill a little bit. So there's one or two reasons. Either you need some more water or you might need a little more ink. Either one. There we go. And for these little guys here, I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. And it's okay to go outside the lines, okay? It's all an illusion. Clean my brush. Just scrub that a little bit. I did this little guy here, so just adding a little bit of water to him. Same thing with this little guy here. Just add a little bit of water. Push that color around. Gives me my gradation of shade. Makes it look like you've used 2 or 3 different colors when we've only used one so far. So you can see a light, medium, dark, or light, medium, dark going this direction. So you can, looks like we've used a whole bunch of markers. We've only used one right now. That's why I like the monotone here, monochromatic, because it really shows us, allows us to see how the gradation of colors come out really cool. Just coming into some of these leaves, going along the vine towards the bottom, along the vine towards the bottom. If I oops up and do one across the top, it's okay. The only rule to watercolor is to be free, relax, have fun, shake out the shoulders. Pick up a little bit more water. So I'm going to come into this little petal here, and this one's very closed in. So this one is going to tend to be a little bit darker because it's closed in on itself. There's a lot of layers and folds where it's going to be darker. So this one, kind of like the leaves, I'm going to kind of go up the petals on the side, right where they're touching. So this one will tend to be a little bit darker. Outside edges are going to be white. Remember, our light source is kind of coming in from here. I'm talking to you about the light sources, but honestly, if it perplexes you and you're like, I just don't get it, don't worry about it. It's okay. You do you. Have fun. Be relaxed. These ones I'm just going to go right along one of the edges. Down the middle. I'm just tapping the colors in. Try not to do a super straight line, making them uneven. Just picking up some of that 969. Quick, fast, simple, and easy. Clean off my brush, pinch it off, come in and smoosh that in. Just tapping, tapping, tapping. Little scrubbing motion. Tap into this one. Check the leaves. And it's super quick. Like, I'm leaving lots of white. I'm not trying to be exact. I'm not trying to be precise. That is why I like the watercolor. My day job, I deal with spreadsheets and analytics and data all day long, and it's precise, it's exact. It's these numbers have to match. 1 and 1 equals 2 kind of thing. So when I come to do my watercolor, I just need the calm, the zen, the relaxing. So now I'm going to build my gray because I want to add a little more texture, a little more dimension to this. So I'm just getting my brush wet. I'm not cleaning it off, and I'm going to smoosh all these colors together. So the combination of the 565s and the 969 make an absolutely beautiful dimensional gray. And I may need to pinch off a little bit because it's got lots of water on it. But what I'm going to do is just come into these darker areas, these areas where we want it to be a little darker, and it's making a beautiful gray. It's giving that next layer of dimension to our image. And again, I don't need to hit every single spot. I may or may not choose to bring water in to layer it out. I may just let it sit and let it do its thing. Because remember, you need to let these projects sit for a few hours, overnight. I know I'm saying these are dry to the touch, but the colors need to settle a little. They'll start changing. They'll become a little different. All I have to do to add more dimension to it or to reactivate it is add a little bit of water. So a week from now, 2 weeks from now, I can come back and add more to my project. It's easier to add. It's hard to take away. So I'm quickly going through. I'm not trying to hit every single spot. I'm just coming through right along the vein of my leaves. The color's not moving, so I need some more water. So right along the veins, just a little bit on these little guys. Patting it into the teeny tiny roses because they're so tiny. I think these are cabbage roses if I remember, and they're so beautiful. They come in some gorgeous colors. But not precise, not exact. Let me move this up so you can see. But look at the difference that this one versus down here. It's just adding that extra layer of dimension. And that's all we need. quick, simple, and easy. It's so relaxing. I'll turn some music on, I'll turn a podcast on, and just watercolor. I find that I do my best watercoloring when I'm not solely concentrating on it, when I've got something else going on. It seems to be if my mind is doing more than one thing, it forces me not to overthink it. I'm going to blend in these numbers here to give me a little bit more gray. Yeah, the more I don't focus on it, the more I concentrate on many different things so I don't overthink it, the better my projects look. I've told my students for a long time, never destroy your project, never throw it away until you let it sit overnight. And one day I was watercoloring something quickly. I was trying to get it done in time for a class that I was teaching, and I got frustrated. It wasn't doing what I wanted. I grabbed some color off my palette and I put a big X through it. I went to bed that night, came back the next day, and it looked beautiful. The colors had settled. It looked great. And I'm like, why did I do that? So do as I say, not as I do. Please don't do that. I'm bringing in a number 4 brush. You can do this with the number 3. I just love how the number 4 brush works, and we do have these for sale. But I'm just going to come in. I'm going to grab some of my 969, and this is very watered down at this point. And I'm just going to tap in some little spots, some little sprinkles, speckles, however you want to say it. But this is where lots of water. Water. That's how we're going to get those. And I'm just tapping against my finger. Going to bring a little bit more of that 969. So when I'm doing the background, or if I'm doing like a sky to it, or when I'm doing these little sprinkles, those are the only times when I generally will do lots of water. Every time else, it is more the splatter technique. It is a very dry technique. So the splatter and like a halo or a background, a sky, will be the only times where you will see me bring in lots of water. Just a little bit more here. Okay, clean my brush, pinch it off a couple times. I'm going to do that with both my brushes. And then I'm going to bring in the back side of my 969, or you may have the twin tone. The twin tone has the same back as the 969, a little bit thicker of a bullet nib, but it also has a really tiny side, so I can get in and add more detail if I want. This is a bigger piece. I could be here all day adding little dots, so I don't want to add dots everywhere. I think it does add a little bit of texture and dimension, especially towards the middle of some of our roses. But I just do want to hit a few spots. I don't think with the splatter it gets like everything. Again, it's okay if I go outside the lines and add a little bit of darkness to it. I'm not trying to be super exact. I do tend to try to stay in my darker areas. The more you overthink it, the worse it comes out. The more you don't think it, the prettier it comes out. Alright, I'm going to put the lid on my water. Because for those of you that know me, I will end up with water everywhere. Let's trim down our paper and then we'll distress our edges. So with this one, we're going to have a piece of our craft cardstock, which I ran out of at my house. You will have a little bit different of a craft color than you're seeing me use. But this is one of my favorite craft cardstocks in our collection. Like I said, I just happened to run out of it right before filming this, so yours will be so much prettier than mine. But I'm going to go down to 5 1/4 by 4 with our craft, and these should all be pre-cut for those of you that are attending the class. If you're not, then you can follow along and trim your paper down also. So instead of 4 1/4, it's going to be 3 3/4 on the short side for my black. and then it's going to be 4 3/4. Oh, sorry, 5. So we'll have a nice 1/4 inch border around that edge there. I might have trimmed that down a little. Let me see what I did. So there's 1, 2, 3. I just under trimmed it just a hair. There we go, much better. Okay, so then for my paper, I put my little light source over here, so I definitely want to trim off that side. So for my short edge, I want it to be 3 1/2. You can add more of a border or less of a border. And then I'm going to trim a little bit off the bottom here. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, so 4 3/4 is where I want to end up at. And again, I really, really love a distressed edge, so I'm going to just scribble on some more of that 969. Grab my water and one of my brushes just to add just a poodle of water here. And then I'm going to grab my blender, zoom out just a hair here. I'm just going to come along the edges and distress those edges. I really love a deep distress edge. You can go light, you can go dark, kind of whichever. And every single time I do it, it looks a little bit different. I just love to find another way to use my pens. Pulling out my Barely Art glue here. My favorite glue of all time. It dries matte and flat. And start building up my card. Adding this first layer to my black. And then grabbing my little froggy press here. Help burnish that down. Allow the paper and the glue to bind together. I don't see any of those squiggly lines that I put on there. Remember, camera adds 10 pounds to the glue. This is a very, 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 very thin amount of glue. Little goes a long way with this glue, so remember, don't try to put a whole lot on there. A little goes a long, long way. Once I get that down, then I just burnish that down with the little pal here, a little frog pal. We do have the frog, we have little pig. There may be more critters to come, so keep your eyes out. Oop, I gotta put my water back on my lid there. Don't trust myself with water spilling that everywhere. Remember, these cards are still active until you seal them. So there's a Tim Holtz Distress glaze that will seal it. Aerosol hair, a can of hairspray will help seal it. So lots of different ways to seal your watercolor, but before you mail it, I do recommend sealing it, because if for some reason in its transport through the U.S. Postal Service there's rain, it could reactivate those inks and spread them. So I'm just going to go right around my craft cardstock here a little bit, add a little bit of the distress also. As I mentioned, you probably have a little bit different color of craft cardstock. It's one that we carry in the store. It's my ultimate favorite, but I ran out before filming this. So you get the gorgeous oatmeal craft cardstock that we have. And just burnish those edges. And now you're good to go. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see it. See all that dimension here. And I'm going to bring in a couple of the other pieces that we worked on in our video. So if you have not seen those videos, go check them out. We have our splatter technique with a highlight, and then we have a beautiful just one image popping off the page, spotlight image here, and then this is the set that we're using. It is the Lovely Bouquet from Pajama Krafter Stamps. If you have not had an opportunity to purchase this stamp set yet, it is one of my favorites. Go ahead, hop over and grab that set. I hope you have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed the videos, and if you were able to attend one of my in-person classes, I hope you had fun. It was great meeting you all, and I will catch up with you later. Take care and have a great day. Bye.